Hey, cheers again. I'd like to deconstruct some gender role ideas because it just seems to me that, on a certain extent, that what we look at as the authoritarian progressive view that certain things are social ills or social injustices, and you need social justice. Well, as a cultural libertarian, I'm like, by whose standard? Uh, you set up a narrative and you keep to that narrative, and it's like, well, that only creates a predetermined conclusion. The narrative has an ideological basis that precludes any kind of objective or objective or other kind of nuances and considerations for those views, like gender roles. Traditionally, as a cultural libertarian, which I am, even though I'm economically progressive, very much so, but yet hesitant also, because I think it comes down to ownership versus regulation. And if it wasn't that you couldn't friggin' if the common good can be served by free markets and profits and everything, I would say there would be no need for regulation. I think the free market forces could handle it. But you can't. I don't think that's the only reason I'm a progressive. Is that I don't think the common good could be served by profit, like profit for prisons, profit for friggin' medicine, other things. The social good, or at least the social aspect of the economic good, needs to be something else than privatization. However, as a social libertarian, where I consider myself social conservative, not I catch myself knee jerking into a social conservative authoritarian, which is an aspect of you could say a carryover from Judeo-Christian values. I think that could be fair to say. My views on sexuality, my views on my views on women and gender roles, and my views on race. No, I'm not a Mormon who thinks that just because someone's dark skinned doesn't mean they're a son of Cain and bad. As an atheist, that's nonsense. But as a social conservative, I feel that there's an aspect of that, even though they didn't get the science right, they understood the human condition and the issues within it that make more or less the things that they support and oppose have a fundamental truth to them. However, that's how I feel as a social conservative, and why I knee jerk towards an authoritarian Judeo-Christian value, even though I'm an atheist and don't believe in any aspect of the supernatural. At least as much as I can't. Intellectually, at least I don't. You know, tell my brain that friggin' something that goes bump in the night isn't a ghoulie. You know what I mean? Or I used to be a psychic shopper, you know. I still get that feeling every once in a while. Oh, there's a deal over there, you know. Ooh, I'm gonna get it, you know. And it must be a confirmation bias, but it seems to work for me, you know. I'm sure if we had a detailed thing where you knew where everything was and wasn't, when I should have gone left or right, it's just a feeling, you know. Probably it can't even be a correct feeling. But can we really discount intuition, whatever function it takes? So the point is that when it comes to a social conservative view, I instead take the libertarian approach. It's just like a economic conservative libertarian, except instead of a free market with due to finances and personal wealth, it's to do with an economic free market, not an economic, excuse me, a free market of ideas. And that's why I have so much problems with social progressive authoritarianism that seems to go on a self-supporting narrative that I just can't accept. The whole SJW lexicon, that's not my liberalism. I mean, is libertarianism a step to liberalism? Especially in the aspect of social issues, social conservative issues. Conservative as in libertarian. Is libertarian a step down from authoritarian? I don't know. You know, because it depends on the degree that your conservatism is. Like, conservative Judeo-Christians are supposed to do charity and all these other things, but I'm not so sure how much that holds in the modern age today. In any case, the point I'm going to get to, if I haven't got to it already, is that with a free market of ideas, I catch myself having to deconstruct these statements and issues where I'm left like with this thing to unpack that's very hard to explain. Because on the one hand, well, here's what I support about your ideas, and we can agree or disagree. And on the other hand, this is why I vehemently oppose your positions. One is like, no, I do not support that authoritarian narrative. You know, the gender gap, the freaking manspreading. You know, it insults me when I think that every citizen, and to a lesser extent, every person with human stuff, I make a distinction between a citizen and a non-citizen. And that's something that's hard to explain too. You know, and what nuance and what degree that goes to. You know, everyone doesn't have to have star-spangled eyes, but at the same time, we are a country. We are a republic. We are not a territory. We do not need to be balkanized. We do not need freaking globalists. You know, I'm a civic nationalist. And the only reason I call myself a nationalist is because I want a right for citizenry. And what we see is from outside forces, especially globalized and oligarchs that are internationalists, you know, whether you want to jump on the conservative side of it, the economic conservative side of it, or the social progressive side of it, that deals with immigration and equal pay and freaking fair housing and discrimination and all these other freaking social progressive things that authoritarian I disagree with as authoritarian. Now, if it's libertarian, which I tend to agree is conservative, at least on the social issues, I think that there is subtle nuances to that. And generally, that's why I consider myself an economic progressive, because I think that race, gender, sexuality, and nationality should be an issue with a small capital only, ever, if at all. Should be after the fact of a person's liberty, justice, and freedom, with the nuance that citizens count more than non-citizens. You know, and then that can lead you into trouble, because nationalism is a exclusive form of politics, and that's a slippery slope to hell. You know, instead of an inclusive, which just spreads everything out to friggin' nothing. You know, it's all a mush. You know, one's too exclusive, the other's too inclusive, basically. And that's the point of why I have to deconstruct all these things when my frigging social progressive friends, who might have some right leaning here and there, break down issues into terminology that is in itself fundamentally flawed on a conceptual level. You know, the whole SJW thing. I'm really not that freaking socially conservative. But from a sociological point, my libertarian ideals mean that I just can't accept the hard left radical socialist narrative when it comes to social issues. And I'm really hesitant on the economic issues too, even though no one understands this point, is that I am a near post-scarcity futurist. Which really bugs me, because that's really the hardest progressive you can get when you're trying to micromanage friggin' a society on an economic basis, because in a capitalist society, your friggin' wealth is an aspect of your status. And it all ties into liberty, freedom, and justice. But it's more really all of it being libertarian-ish is an aspect of equality of opportunity, not outcome. So that's why I just, I hear some of these things, people saying something, and, well, the gender role is a very important thing because men and women are more discriminated online and stuff, and I'm just like, no, too much to friggin' deconstruct. This is horse shit. Yeah, that's why I lose my mind friggin' on the comment section going, no, because it all just friggin' right in my face. Every time I'm just like, really? Oh God, really? No, God, no. I mean, oh yeah, I'm an atheist. So I'm SOL. Yeah, that's why.